Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk Automotive episode 6. We've got Andrea Contino talking to us again tonight with regards to social media marketing and Google AdWords marketing. And I'm so glad that we could get him back tonight because we had so much to talk about that we actually ran out of time. So we've got him back on the line. Andrea, good evening and welcome.
Hi, Fani. Thanks for having me back.
How are you doing today, brother?
Feel like a massive weight lifted off our shoulder. A lot of our dealers are opening up again, so exciting times. And yeah,
absolutely,
awesome.
Absolutely. It's good times. We're getting back on track, and the economy is getting back on track. Listen, let's talk about what we spoke about last week quickly. Let's recap. We spoke about your AdWords and how the dealers can get onto Google AdWords and how that affects their marketing. Let's run through that slides quickly just to recap where we left off. On this first slide, we spoke about where the customers or the consumers are spending their time. 60% on dealer websites, 80% of their time on third-party websites, and 38% on manufacturer websites.
Yeah.
All right. Then we moved on to the second slide, or the next slide, where we ran into some interesting facts with regards to Google statistics. Why don't you just run us through those 3 interesting stats quickly?
I think the most important thing to note is that Google is used as a primary function on mobile phones. As you can see on the right, mobile phones dominates the actual statistics. Most people are coming, more than 75 people are coming through on mobile phones. And the number one thing they're searching is motor industry, which is particularly what we're focused on at the moment. So yeah, that's probably the most important things to note out of that. Eh?
Awesome. Okay, let's move on. This is very interesting. You showed us that search volumes it's gone down a little bit, but hasn't gone down as much as what we would have expected, and actually also didn't go up as much. It's very stable at the moment. You searched 4 different types of vehicles, and that search volume basically stayed the same throughout lockdown as well.
Yeah. So basically what that was is when you start narrowing it down to more specific terms, the search volume didn't really dip off. Not as significant when you look at more broader terms like cars and the brand name Mazda, the brand name Toyota and stuff like that. When you start getting into specific models, you definitely don't see a significant drop in search volume.
Sure. All right. The next slide that we discussed was the customer's journey and where and what they did specifically when it comes to their online journey and looking for the specific vehicle, etc., etc. Why don't you just run us through that seeding process, watering process, and time for harvest, where you actually play most of your game?
So we focus primarily at the end of that cycle, between the 30 and 60-day period. As I said in our previous thing, that period is not fixed in stone. It doesn't say it starts at 12 months. It could be a 3-month period and everything, but we're focusing very much at the end, where we get the low-lying fruit, if you would.
Correct.
Customers are pretty much ready to buy. They're just shopping around for a deal now.
Okay, so I just again want to stop here for a second and just explain my theory when it comes to this online shopping journey and where we as dealers need to be flexible and actually start to adjust and get with it, as they would say. That the customer, let's call it the customer buying process, still stays the same, but the place and where the customer is actually getting your first impression and where he's getting to know you as a dealer has changed. That's all online now. So 100%. Please make sure that you are not only focusing your time and efforts to catch the guys when they are ready to buy, because they're not going to know about you. You need to have content on your social media platforms and on your websites so that the customers can actually get to know you, trust you, and then they will buy from you. So please, guys, just make sure that you understand that. The next slide, Andrea, slide number 7. This was all the different conversions.
Yes.
So the dealer website funnel and the different ways to convert. Why don't you just run us through that quickly?
So we just mentioned there that obviously when someone hits your ad, they will come to your website and they can either make an inquiry via an email submission of a form, a phone call, or walk-in. They can also phone directly off your Google ad, which would bypass your website, and they can navigate directly to your dealership. We measure all these things so that we can give the dealer a better perspective of what the ad spend is doing, and obviously a better idea to measure the return on investment.
Awesome. All right, so that's where we left off last week. I want to take some time just to say how's it to a couple of guys that's online and joined us. Bashi Stain's online, Henk Brits is online, Marco is online. Welcome, Marco. Thanks for joining us. David Zieli, thank you, my man, for joining us. Vian van Sale is live and watching us. Guys, if you have any questions for Andrea or myself, please comment in the comments below. We'll put them on the screen, discuss them as we get time for them. Andrea, let's move on to the next slide, and this is where it starts getting interesting now.
Yeah. So, yeah, you go first, Fonny, if there's something specific you want to ask.
No, let's talk about what determines your rankings. I think that's very important. Obviously, when dealers and customers and clients that deal with you and with me, they want to understand the money that they spend. How does it actually work? Where, if I pay so much money, how do I ensure that I'm on top or in the top 3? And how does it work? You're the expert. Talk to me.
Okay, so there's a number of things that determine what makes up your ranking. So those are namely relevance, your SEO score, your quality score, your conversion rate, bounce rate, bid value of keyword, and your daily budget. All these things are combined in Google's algorithm in determining where you're going to be positioned in terms of your ad. So, and I didn't put it in a specific order, but I purposely put relevance at number 1 because that is the most important thing. If you understand Google is the biggest marketing company in the world.
Yes.
But they're the biggest marketing company in the world, and they have hundreds of billions of dollars being spent monthly or whatever the case is on Google worldwide and everything. The number one reason Google is the number 1 source is because of relevance.
Correct.
And they put that as a priority above everything else. And you'll notice when you go Google something, 9 times out of 10, it's at the top position or within those top range of ads or generic search results that you find what you're looking for. So that's the number 1 thing that determines ad ranking.
Can I interrupt you? I want to interrupt you quickly and just ask you to explain SEO a little bit more. Search engine optimization, and how that's got nothing to do with the ad word itself, but it's got everything to do with your website. So why don't you please just explain to the guys at home why it's important to make sure that your website, first of all, before you go to your Google AdWords, is up and running and everything in place.
Okay, so for me, a lot of people try and separate them, SEO and paid search. Yes. And to a degree, yes, you can do one without the other, but I think it's more of a homogeneous a relationship. The way I look at it is when you do them both together, you get the best results. So your SEO is your search engine optimization. It's the way your website's laid out. It's the frequency that you update your website, the content on your website, the engagements of your website. So do people keep coming back to it? What's your bounce rates?
Yes.
All those type of factors. How many times you use relevant words to use them repetitively in your things, your meta tagging. All these things contribute to your SEO score, and that will determine your generic ranking. But by doing that, you're also improving your relevance, which has an effect on your Google paid ads as well. So it is taken into account.
All right, let's move on. If you want to go into the statistics there, second point.
So statistically speaking, 75% of the market share of clicks goes to the top 3 to 4 positions. If you'll remember a time back, a bit more than that, about 4 years ago, when you used to search, you used to have a right-hand column. You used to only have 3 results on the top and a right-hand column. Google did away with that and increased the top 3 ads to 4 ads. Because their statistics started showing that those are the most relevant positions and everything. And obviously the migration more to mobile, you don't have your right column anymore. So
correct.
You have, that's why I say 3 to 4 is 75%. 35% of your market share is on number 1 position. But I want to say this about number 1 position. Number 1 position is not guaranteed to any specific advertiser. It's got to do with the above. So, and even that in itself doesn't mean that being number 1 means you're getting the big bite of the market. I'll touch on those, what I mean there, but let's put it this way. You can be number 1, but if you're not the best deal in those 4 positions, you're not necessarily going to get the deal or the inquiry.
It's very interesting. Okay, so something that I think is changing and evolving as we go along is a couple of years back, the guys were very, very, very serious about search engine optimization, making sure that your generic searches you come up tops. How does that now change with regards to the Google paid ads?
Okay, so let me take a dealership more specifically because we're talking to mostly dealers here.
Yes.
So in a dealership website, in terms of their front page, their service department page, parts department page, and the new vehicle specific where you see the actual models and everything, those pages actually don't change a lot. I mean, they change when the model gets updated. It changes when the dealer puts a new banner on the top or whatever the case is. But in terms of the actual content, the wording, they don't generally change a lot.
Correct.
So in that sense of the matter, the SEO component sort of stays the same. And I recommend that dealers update it as often as they can. But let's be honest, you're not going to update it every month, because
correct,
the information is not going to change.
Yes.
So really what information we look at when what's important to us in terms of the promotions. After all, that's what we're using it for, is to drive traffic to the promotions that are on there.
Yes.
And those are frequently changing. Those change monthly, sometimes twice a month, depending on the dealer and the manufacturers coming out with new specials halfway through the month and whatever the case is.
Yes.
So those components change very, very frequently. What we keep consistent there is really the layout in terms of positioning of your images and your forms and your calls to actions and everything like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Let's move on to misconceptions about rankings and biddings. What's your most frequent questions that you have to deal with?
So a lot of dealers, a lot of customers think that the highest bidder gets top position. As I mentioned on the first things there, that's a false claim. It doesn't. You can be the highest bidder and not be number 1, especially if you're using false keywords and stuff like that. Meaning, let's say a Ford dealership or brand is bidding on another manufacturer's keywords. He can outbid those manufacturers. He's not necessarily going to get number 1 because his relevance is not 100%.
Sure.
So your quality score, your relevance plays a big part in getting number 1 position. And as I said, it's not guaranteed or consistent, because the budget of the dealer that he has per day is limited. So once his budget's depleted, the next guy in line is going to take the position. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the highest bidder doesn't necessarily get the top position. A lot of dealers think they're in a bid war for position. I've got multiple dealers with the same brand in very, very close proximity to each other.
Yes.
And our bid strategy stays constant. We do not ever find that we're actually coming up and we're losing against one or the other, whatever the case is. In the 1 or 2 rare occasions that we've seen that someone's come in and like really bidding up the market hard.
Yes.
We see that most of the time it's not sustained. It lasts for a month or two, and then it falls away. Because when you're trying to outbid everyone at the top and everything like that, your budget gets depleted very, very fast. And like I mentioned to you, if you're not necessarily ticking all the boxes and have the best proposal, you're not necessarily going to get the return on investment. So that's not the best strategy to go with either. And then, what's the next one? Customers okay, so what this means is, like, I get a lot of dealers or customers, they will go and search for themselves. And they judge their campaign based on the fact that, oh, you know, I'm at number 4, and I'm on page 2, or I'm not seeing my ad.
Yes.
And they think that something's wrong or whatever the case is. There's a lot of things that factors that play, like I mentioned already. But additionally to that, Google is also measuring your IP. Correct. So all their AI and their algorithms and their machine learning is looking at your IP. So if you search for yourself right now, you see your ad for the first time, but you don't click on your ad. And I don't recommend that you do click on your ad, because you're going to cost yourself money without without having any intention to buy. Correct. But so you don't click on your ad. So you switch off and you move on, and next time, tomorrow, you come and you search again. Google's going to say, well, I showed you this ad yesterday and you didn't click on it. Therefore, it wasn't relevant. So I'm going to show you something else. You understand? So there's that built into it as well. So you can never measure it at a momentary search. You have to take a sample over a period of time, like a 30-day period of time. Then you can actually get an idea of how your search result with actual customers.
I understand. Before we carry on, I've got a couple of guys that I need to mention. Bianca Lange, Mornay Roos, Richard Taylor, Han Engelbrecht, Keenan Fry online watching the show with us. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. If you have any questions for myself or Andrea, please pop them in the comments. I've got a question that came in, Andrea. It says, what makes a website bot friendly, and how often are websites profiled?
So when you're talking about a bot, I'm assuming a web crawler from Google itself. Yes. So Google sends, I mean, there's no specific. If we all knew when they were going to send it and everything like that, then we would all be ranking at number 1. But Google's algorithm, basically, in a nutshell, if I could explain it like this, when you first launch your website, you submit it on your what is it called? I think it's Google search directories or whatever the case is. Yes. You submit it, and Google takes basically like a snapshot of the data. And like a month later, Google will send that crawler back to your website to see if any of the information has changed. If the information has changed, they say, okay, great. This seems like they're going to update it. And they'll bump you up in terms of a little bit of a search ranking. If it hasn't, they're going to say, okay, well, then we're going to send back a bot in another 2 months' time and then see if there's any information changed from there. Sure. And the more frequently you change, the more often they'll send their bot.
Okay,
and then the higher they'll rank you up. The less frequently you change your information, the less frequently they'll send the bot, and the lower your rank. So if I can sort of simplify it in that sense.
I understand. I've got a question for you. Out of my personal experience working with different dealer groups with the same brands but different dealerships in different locations. If I had to come to you and say, listen, please help me with my AdWords campaigns, but I've got, for example, Haval dealership I got 2 Haval dealerships in the same city, and another one in the town next door. Am I not burning my own money competing against each other? How does that work?
Well, okay, so it's always a difficult one to answer because a lot of people think that's the case, and they use things like geo-targeting and everything like that. Now you can That's one way to solve the problem with geotagging, demarcating specific areas of responsibility and only showing your ads in those areas. I like to use more radius targeting, so I don't mind if they overlap a little bit. For the reason being because customers don't necessarily stay in one position. They live in one town and they work in another town. So you can't just put everyone in a square box and say, I'm only going to advertise there, where your customer might live in your area, but he does most of his searching when he's at work during working hours. He's still as much your customer as where the other dealership where he's working. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't mind a bit of overlapping, and I don't see it. Where the dealers are competing with each other for space on Google. I see where the biggest competition is with regards to the deal.
Awesome. Okay. Before we carry on, we decided to give you another chance, but because last week was dismal, it was probably the worst experience of my life. So we decided to make tonight's Guess the Car game a little bit easier for you. So it's very popular vehicles in South Africa. I'm very sure that you'll be able to get this right. Okay.
Okay, wait, hold on, because
yes.
my video feed is completely frozen. So I can hear you, but I can't see any video feed at the moment.
So that might be a problem.
Yeah.
we can still see you. Maybe we should.
Okay.
You've got your laptop open with you, so maybe we should carry on with the slides and discussing the slides so long.
What I'm going to do on my laptop while you do that, I'm just going to open my Facebook and I'm going to mute my thing and I'm going to see if I can watch the feed from there.
That should be able. We should be able to do it that way.
Okay, let me just do that.
While Andrea is busy doing that, guys, I'm going to put the first slide up for you guys so long to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So you guys at home, you guys can also play along. Please comment your answers in the comments below. You see a vehicle there, South African, very popular type of vehicles in South Africa. I see Andrea is actually online. So guys, watching.
I can see a vehicle.
Yes, what do you think that is, Boet?
I feel like that is a Ford.
A Ford?
Ooh. No. That's a Mercedes.
Yes.
SUV.
SUV? Yes. Is it an SUV? Okay.
SUV. Give me a chance. Maybe the Merc Bucky. I don't know what they actually call it, but yeah.
I'm gonna give the Merc Bucky to you. Well done, Boet. The X-Class Mercedes. Double cab,
there you are.
That's it. Well done. Yeah. You've got one, but now you're on par with last week. But you also had one right last time. So let's move on to the next slide, guys. You guys at home, well done, Keenan. Let's see if you guys at home can get this right. What does that look like? The first one should give you a clue in which direction we're going, Andrea.
That's a Toyota Hilux. Fani, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Toyota Hilux.
Well done. You got it right. Okay, so we're 2 for 2.
Okay.
Okay, this one's going to take you back a little bit. Okay.
That's a Nissan Champ. Datsun.
Wow. Yes, well done.
Yeah,
well done. I see Louis Buerta got it right as well. He's got the Hilux. Well done. Hello, Louis Buerta. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so this is the next one. These guys took a very long time to bring out this specific model. The previous model was on the market for a long time here in South Africa.
I got a little bit of delay in my computer feed. but I swear I want to say Fiat. No. Oh no.
It's probably been on the market for, I think it's about close on 3 years now.
VW Amarok? No.
No. Time's up.
Confused, eh?
No, but
yeah,
time's
you threw
up.
me with this one.
The Nissan Navara. Well, the Nissan Navara.
Crossed my mind.
You guys at home? Louis got it right again. Keenan's got it right. Well done. Danny Scholes has just joined us. Hello, Louis. Okay, what's the next slide there, Fritz? I think you're going to struggle with this one, but it's not a very popular double cab here in South Africa, but it's one that you could probably link to me if that will give you a clue.
The Fiat Bucky.
Well done, the Fiat fullback. The Fiat fullback, there you go.
That's it.
Okay, so now we've showed you 5 double cab buckies here in South Africa. The next one is going to throw you a little bit. Guys at home, please pay attention. We're going to show you another bucky. What is this that I'm showing you? Let's see if anybody at home can get this right.
Okay, my feed's a bit slow. Just wait for me, because I see someone pointing a finger wearing a rugby jersey.
Yes, that's correct. I told you it's another bucky.
Bucky's birthday.
I thought I'll throw a little funny in there for you. But well done. I think you had 5 out of 6. Well done.
Sure, thank you.
Well done.
Not too bad with new cars.
Yes, now I feel a little bit better now. Okay, listen, but I can still see you and hear you, and you can hear me. I don't know if you can see me yet.
No, I can. It's come back on. So
okay, awesome.
It's working again.
Awesome. Technology, we can't live with it and also not without it. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, slide number 9, lead quantities and lead quality. I want to know, I'm giving you a lot of money. You're doing my AdWords for me. I want to know how many leads should I expect and what kind of quality leads should I expect?
Okay, so to move on quickly, I'm going to do this as quick as possible. Main things about lead quantity, obviously it goes without saying, budget is going to determine lead quantity. Also the brand and the model. The least desirable brand, you can spend as much money as you like. It's just not going to get as many leads as a more desirable brand. And the same goes for a more desirable model versus a less desirable model.
Yes.
So those are kind of logical things. Website conversion optimization, which we touched on, which is your conversion optimizations and the way you've set up your website, is your forms in the right positions and everything like that. Those are going to influence your lead quantities, your calls to actions, your limited time offers, the urgency that you display on your deal. If you're going to make a deal valid for 2-3 months, guess what? Sure. You're telling the customer you can come back in 2-3 months to make an inquiry. If you're going to make your thing valid for this month, you're going to create urgency to make the inquiry now.
Sure.
As well as with limited stock offers and everything like that, put your stock quantities. And then the quality of the ad or the deal or the proposal. Now, I know I harp on this about a lot, and I'm not an advocate for guys discounting and prostituting product.
Yes.
Okay? That's a common term that a lot of dealers use and everything. I'm not an advocate for that. What I do mean, though, is be relevant. If you're going to be 10, 20,000 Rand more expensive than the next oak, you're pricing yourself out of the market. If you got to be relevant, stay within the game and be creative. It's not always just about price. It can be how you package your deal. I mean, I had a very, very good example with a group that went in and they did something financial where they were doing a 50% saving on your installment over this lockdown period, and they got phenomenal results from it.
Yes.
Because it was relevant to the audience at the time. So, and they weren't playing on the price thing. So when I mean that, it's how you engage how you get in touch with your customer, what are the how well you know your customer base and your clientele and everything is also going to determine a lot.
Okay, lead qualities.
So lead quality, I pretend that the segment that I play in, 60 to 70% of the customers will buy within that 30 to 60 day period. When I was still a dealer, when I did this research, that held true. When I started my business and we did call centers, it held true. And when I refer to your gentleman that you had on your
Peter
second episode,
yes.
He alluded to very, very similar statistics. So especially in this segment, in the when we're getting right to the targeted marketing that we're doing, we find a very high probability. But when I say that, I want to be very specific. That doesn't mean that the dealer who got the lead is going to close that deal.
Correct.
If you got to understand that the customer is checking 2 or 3 or 4 options. So if he's made the inquiry with you, it's up to you to close it at the end of the day.
Correct.
So when we do the study, we actually phone the client. We don't phone the dealer. And we see that the client actually did conclude a purchase.
Correct.
And we find out that 60 to 70% are buying the actual brand that they made an inquiry on. When we go 70 to 80% actually buy a car, maybe a different brand. So they were still in the option phase. And then sort of 10, 15, 20%, depending on the brand or whatever the case is, we find maybe those customers are not necessarily qualified, or they've got very, very high owing still a lot of money on their trade-ins, stuff like that. They're trying their luck. It doesn't mean that they're not interested in buying or can't afford. There might be the 1 or 2 ITC guy that tries and everything, but the vast majority is high quality. They're buying, and they're going to be buying within that period. So yeah, that's what we pertain in terms of lead quality.
It's absolutely scary to think that those customers, you said 60 to 70% of the leads that come in will buy the product that they inquired on. But the question is, and this is where the guys are missing the plot, is are they buying from you?
100%.
Is your sales team doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they phoning the customers? Are they treating the customers the way that they're supposed to treat the customers? Are they going the extra mile? Are they? One of the stats that always impressed me or got to me the most was the fact that customers say they never got a follow-up call.
100%. So you find it a lot.
So you did everything that you were supposed to do. You got the Google AdWords guy. You got him to get the lead for you. You've got a 70%, 60 to 70% chance of closing the deal, and your salesperson or salesman doesn't phone the customer back.
Now, me, when I was in management, that absolutely did my nuts. When I saw that stat for myself, I actually did that research.
Yes.
But then it actually gave me the opportunity to find out why. And I think this is another important thing. So I encourage all sales managers to actually do this homework for themselves.
Yes.
Because when you start finding out why they didn't buy from you, you can start fixing all the loopholes in your business.
Correct.
Now, you can go the route of doing the training, but not understanding actually what's wrong, where the loophole is. Yes. So you're not actually fixing. You're hoping that you might fix it with unconsciously, or you can actually go find out exactly what's going wrong. And when we did the research in my own dealership, we found that one of the cases was we were coming short on the trading values. The trading values the customer was getting at another dealership was more than ours. So we had to have a meeting with our used car department and say, hey, listen, we're both losing out here. You're losing out because you're not getting the trading, and I'm losing out because I'm not closing the deal. That's just one example. There's many things that can go wrong in the process, that can determine and be a loophole ultimately the breakdown in the sale, concluding at that dealer.
Let's move on, Andrea, to our second last slide. And this is all about how dealers measure return on investment and closing ratios, what we've been discussing now. So let's allude to this very quickly.
Okay, so very quickly, a typical dealership, how they measure the return on investment. They get their leads for, let's say, for April, and they say, right, this is the leads from the 1st to the 30th, 31st of the month. How many deals did we close here? Now, as I said to you, it's a 30 to 60 day period. So the customers who made an inquiry and this is typical, 60 to 70% of the leads come in the last sort of 5 to 10 days of the month. Okay. So now those customers they're still in that process of that 30 to 60 day. So the dealer goes and measures, we closed 2 or 3 out of 30 deals, for argument's sake. And they made 10 grand a car, for argument's sake, or whatever the case is. They spent 20,000 rand on advertising. They got 100% or 200% return on investment. That's the average dealership, how they look at the return on investment.
Sure.
Now, some do take the additionals. They take their second gross, their APUs, those things into account, and then they get a better return on investment. And what I've been doing of late is challenging a lot of dealers on how they measure the return on investment. Because of that process, you can't measure it in a 30-day period. Some dealers have argued, but it averages itself out. Yes, over a 12-month period, yes, it can average it out. But when you're judging your advertising budget now, this month, you're not looking at your 12-month period. You're looking at what you closed now. Correct. And that's not accurate. When we say to the dealer, so if they sold 30 cars for that month, where did those leads come from? 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you 60, 70% of them were walk-in customers. Where did those walk-ins come in from? And what we find is, when we actually do the research and we look back on previous month's leads, we find out that those customers made inquiries, phone calls in a previous month, and they concluded in the current month. Now, when you take that and you don't measure it as a closing ratio, and you rather measure your sales funnel, the websites, Google advertising in your sales funnel, and that's the next slide if you go to it. Your sales funnel over 12 months, say, is getting 30 leads a month. It's going into this funnel, which has got now for 12 months had 360 leads. Now, when I look at April or May, I say, right, I closed 30 deals in April. Let me look at these customers. How many of them came from that sales funnel over the last 12 months? Now I can get a better idea. And where I've got dealers who are doing this, they're telling me where they're closing. Okay, this one particular dealer who's grown phenomenally is closing 50, 60 deals. He's telling us that out of this platform, he's closing 20, 25 cars in a month. Sure. Now, if I measure that against his leads, it sounds like he's got a 50, 60% closing ratio for the month. Sure. So that's not true. Yes. The actual fact is he's measuring and he's going back on his database and he's seeing that, this client made an inquiry last month, the month before, and sometimes as far back as 6 months ago. And he's only concluding now, Sure. So if we do that as dealers, we will see that this particular kind of platform is got the ability of giving you a major return on investment. I mean, sometimes I'm recording with customers like 1,500% return on investment. It sounds ludicrous, but sure, that's the reality. When they stay consistent, they stay on for a long period of time, they start to see this rollover snowball effect of customers coming through. So it's very important.
Okay, Mabit, thank you very much. I think we had an awesome conclusion to the two-part series. I want to encourage everybody that's watching this video, please get into contact with Andrea. We'll put his dealer or his details up again for you so that you can have his number. We've got his cell phone number, his email address, and his website. Please get into contact with this guy. He knows what he's doing. He's awesome. He's from our industry. So he's been in your seat before. So please get it. How do I start with AdWords? I've got a question that came in here from the side. How do I start with AdWords, Andrea? If somebody had to start, what do they have to do?
You can put my telephone number up there. You can give me a call.
Well done.
Look, the reality is anyone can do an AdWords account. So, I mean, I literally started myself at the dealership. I learned how to do this stuff. It does become tedious. It does become time consuming, and it does need focus and attention.
Sure.
I mean, I was sitting nights after work to 11 o'clock at night, readjusting things, redoing my ads. It's a lot of graft. I mean, you can do it, or you can get someone who knows what they're doing, and you don't have to go through all the trial and error of trying to figuring it out yourself. Someone who knows what they're doing is going to get you the best results now, today, you know?
Sure.
So to get a hold of us, that's one way, or get a hold of someone local that you know. Most important thing, I think, like you touched on, someone from the industry is always going to be good because they know what they're talking about. They know what you're talking about. They know what the customer's sort of journey is. Yes. I think that's very, very important to identify the right targeting, the right kind of keywords for the campaigns. Those kind of things are going to be very, very important in the success of your campaigns.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. Everybody at home, thank you very much for joining us live. I've got a guest, Andrea Contino, is joining us, the CEO of Women Talk, for next week's episode. So please tune in for that, 6 o'clock next week, Thursday. Andrea, thank you so much, man. Have a good evening. We'll chat to you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Fani. Ciao, ciao.